Hi guys, welcome. My name's Steve Beckles-Ebusua. I'm going to give you 6 steps about speaking. First step is about raising your hand. Now that might sound a strange thing to do, but believe you me, when speaking, it's very subconscious. I suggest whenever you ask a question, for example, if you're speaking to a group of young people, for example, you might say, has anyone ever watched X Factor before? Raise your hand. Now, subconsciously, you might have just seen me raise my hand there. What that will do within your mind would have you raise your hand. The whole idea is to get people to volunteer. One of the worst things at all in speaking is to be speaking away, ask a question, and no one puts their hand up. So remember that one. Raise the hand as you ask the question. Subconsciously, it will make someone from the audience, if not everyone, raise their hands. Think very carefully of that one. There's no right or wrong. Think very carefully when I say that. There is no right or wrong. A guy called Henry Ford said, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, you're definitely right. What that means is that if someone does something or someone says something, they're right. The whole point is, and linking this with speaking, is when you've got someone that has an opinion, don't say it's a wrong opinion. Take the opinion on board. One of the worst things you want is to have a verbal battle whilst you're speaking. So listen very carefully to what they say. Say, I understand your point, and then move on. Now, you might be delivering in a situation where there isn't that interaction with the crowd. In that case, this doesn't matter. But if you're delivering to a group, please bear in mind, there's no right or wrong. Listen to what they say. Say, I understand what you've said there. Okay, let's now move on with this point. It's very important. And what it does, it encompasses that individual to maybe make another point, whereas maybe in the past they wouldn't. Another point to bear in mind, point number 3, is when you're speaking, is not to ask people what they think, rather than what they feel. That's what you need to ask them. Now you might ask, well, what's the difference between the two? If I was to ask you, what do you think of politicians nowadays? You might say, well, I don't know, they're this, they do that, whatever. If you ask them what they feel about politicians, I'm asking about your emotions. So what you're tempted to do is give your opinion. Think is more to the point, isn't it? What do you think? There could be a right or wrong in somebody else's eyes. But feel is about your emotion, your opinion. So whenever you're speaking to anyone, especially within the audience, say, well, what do you feel about that? Because automatically you're generating an opinion, an emotion, rather than what you think about that. Think very carefully about that, yeah? One of the things to bear in mind is to look very carefully at your hands and your body language. And you might have noticed while I have been speaking, I've been moving my hands out quite a bit, moving my hands to the left, moving my hands to the right. One of the things to bear in mind is when you're speaking, is that you must try to capture the audience and take them on a journey. One of the things I bear in mind is when you're talking about something positive, is to move towards the audience. Yeah? You don't have to jump into the audience, but just move forward slightly, because giving that impression of how important it is to do what you're doing. When you're talking about something negative, try stepping back, because when you step back, you give the full volume of how important your point is being made. One of the most important things I find in any form of speaking is telling stories. Can you tell stories? Now, thinking about stories have to link with your audience. So if you tell a story which can encompass what the audience are possibly feeling, you'll have them living your words. And when they live in your words, it then becomes reality. Think very carefully. Think of stories. Tie the stories up. The best speakers are the ones that tell stories, make them relevant, but then brings the point in on that relevant story. Think very carefully. Tell stories. Finally, guys, is clarity. How well do you speak? Yeah? So when you're speaking, you must speak very precisely and say what you're trying to say. Now, often you might have to change what you say because of your audience. But I think you can always fail trying to be something you're not. Don't use words that you wouldn't normally use. Be honest with yourself, be honest with the audience, and you'll deliver great delivery. Guys, please bear that in mind. Thanks very much.